A traditional Sload tale, the tale of a Sload. Glub, glub, glub. Arise, little grubs, come hither that this one might tell you an educational tale. Shy not away from the ripples caused by this one's motions. Come hither. This one shall not eat you. At least if you come close and listen to this one's story. What, you doubt that this one's bulk can move with enough speed to catch your nescient little fawns? Understand, this one's massive girth is telling of years of knowledge and deceit, a long period of feeding, and of being able to keep fed. You draw near. That is wise, and very bold. Slurp. Crunch. Let that be a warning against further brazen behavior, little grubs. Do not regret that one's passing, for that one moved too fast, and trusted enough to snuggle against this one's bulk. And this naivete is precisely what this one warns against with the telling of this tale, which should be virtualed in your nemocrypts, to be referred to as a catechism up to, and including, the time you develop your land limbs and leave the wet for the dry. Now, having your attention, this one begins. The folds of this one's flesh speak of the geography of bygone atlases, when Thras was 1,000 times greater than the cloud shadow it is now. And that is where the story begins, with a Sload named Katala, young and brash, wisdom jowls hanging barely noticeably on that one's face, and thus barely capable of knowledgeable discourse. Yet that one had a droplet or two of knowledge, collected like dewdrops in the cup of a flower. The image in the droplet shimmered slightly whenever that one walked, and ate, and slept. Eventually, it quite nearly consumed him, like the blinding shine of a diamond of the finest water. This droplet was the knowledge of one successful soul merchant, turgid with wealth in souls, in pearls, in coin, a treasure coveted by multitudes, Katala amongst them. However, Katala was not so foolish as to believe that a waif of such modest size could succeed where no other could. A fool and one's money are soon parted, as they say. And the soul merchant was neither, being in possession of a respectable girth. Almost all that one's commerce was conducted through proxies, corps, ambassadors, controlled like puppets, except on those rare occasions when high provirtual customers made it necessary for that one to meet in the flesh. In such cases, that one left a hidden abode by airship, and met with clients in a litter made of coral and bone, shaped like a tub, filled with Thracian sea-water, bubbling and steaming with fire salts, carried aloft by the sturdy shoulders and indefatigable strength of undead Nordic porters, skin still milk-white, eyes still sparkling, precious gems hammered into the joints. And yet no one had ever seen from where that one left, or to where that one returned during these business excursions onto dry, rich land, nor where that one's treasury might lie. Katala traveled throughout Thras to unravel this mystery, consulting with the largest of the Sloads, showing the proper forms of mocking deference expected of him. To the furthest reaches of Thras, banshees were sent to howl the question to all who would hear it. Aquatic screeches tearing through the water with such force that they caused tidal waves to fall on Hammerfell. Like, if one might concede to this one a small joke, a hammer. On and around the shores, rusalka were sent, valuable because of the difficulty used to acquire them, usually by manipulating drowned husband sailors whose visitations were used to lure them to a watery suicide, were sent to query the aged and reclusive ones, big as whales, blubber-swaying gently with the water, who plotted and schemed such grand schemes they became lost in the convolutions of their own scenarios, and were kept alive only by the ministrations of their decaying attendants, and occasionally nourished by the reckless larvae who accidentally swam inside their mouths in search of crumbs. All gave the same answer, counseling caution and reconsideration while evasively referring to the north. But then one of the questing phantasms returned. The spirit relayed the message impressed upon its ectoplasm. That one is cunning, yes. No ostentatious vault to proclaim that one's worth to the world. A simple cave, hidden on the northern coast of Pancor, near Lokar, serves as treasury. Reachable only by swimming through a lake, a moat infested with a swarm of reanimated sharks. Beware. A shark in life knows as much as it does in death, which is little except killing. Before Katala could grab the phantasm's coalescing form to wring the name of that one's mysterious benefactor from its chthonic substance, the ghost lost its coherence and dissipated in a spluttering of half-remembered regrets. Katala cursed that one's own craftsmanship, and prepared to plan. This was not a task to entrust to a temperamental toil, nor did that one wish to burden himself by carrying a jar sloshing with blood and amniotic fluid. Katala left after a week of thoughtful contemplation. A small group of well-preserved revenants at that one side, should trouble burst like a volatile corpse. At the water's edge, that one paused, and sent a revenant lumbering into the depths, which was promptly dragged below the surface as the waters frothed and churned. A limb floated to the surface, but did not stay there for long before it too quickly disappeared from sight, followed by stillness and quietude like that of a virgin crypt. Katala stood at the edge of the water and considered possibilities. Hours turned to days, days to weeks. Still, no solution enlightened him. But action was overdue. The only way was forward, leaving behind that one's revenants, and slowly, with the minutest of steps, like ghostly footfalls, that one entered the water, naked, but for that one's wits. A simple spell kept that one from floating to the surface and bringing that one's presence to the attention of the sharks. For, as yet, not a ripple or a current had betrayed that one's presence. With the most deliberate of motions, Katala edged forward. An hour passed before that one moved a step. A day passed before that one had even crossed half the distance required to reach the cave wherein lay the treasure. All the while, one eye was fixed upon the sharks, the other upon the shadows of the cave. Yet even within the split focus of that one's attention, other details emerged from the murky water, such as the striking desolation of the place. Though no stranger to the clinical silence of a laboratory or the stillness of a tomb, Katala noted that even the coral in the lake was hard and dead and scratched at that one's underbelly, and the sharks showed signs of lamentable decay where the preservation magic had failed, festering untended by the fishy parasites who happily live on the rot and mold of servitors. Their pus-filled yellow eyes stared blankly in front of them as they circled mindlessly. Eventually, that one entered the cave and emerged in a grotto, starving, but for much more than food, though so weak that that one could barely flop up onto the rocky floor. A foul stench hung thickly in the shadows of the cavern. A globe of light dispelled the shadows, and that one looked away, expecting to be dazzled by a king's ransom in soul gems and gold. But when that one raised his head and observed the details of the cavern, that one found only the rotting remains and cartilaginous frames of dead Sload. Petala reached into one of the fresher corpses, feeling inside the head for the soft and squishy nemocrypt. That one closed that one's eyes and muttered a cantrip, speaking to the memories, swimming through them, being enclosed and sustained by them like placenta. Slow, painful, dying. Realization. Soul snare. Poison. Now Katala understood the absence of living parasites in the pool, and the soul merchant's near limitless wealth, as a wave of nausea swept through that one's body, and that one collapsed onto the floor. That one's body gurgled in agony as that one's soul began slipping free, only to become happily entangled within a web of magic, strung along on a path made by a rosary of glittering soul gems, and held captive by a beatific vision of wealth. So concludes this one's tale. Fitting punishment indeed for such hot-headedness. Take heed of this story, little ones, and respect your biggers, so that one day you too might become old enough to have a clutch of young grubs to feast on the accretions on the underside of your belly.